Hello and welcome to the Divorce Recovery Made Easier online summit, where I am interviewing experts to help you learn how to heal, rediscover your identity, and confidently start creating the life that you truly want. I am so excited to be joined by my friend, Dr. Linda Bortell. Hi, Linda.
Hi.
Thank you so much for being here today, and I'm going to introduce you to our audience right now. Dr. Linda Bortell is a clinical psychologist in private practice here, not too far from me in South Pasadena. She specializes in treating child trauma victims, co-parenting families, and high conflict divorce. Linda teaches graduate school at the Alliant University and is on the adjunct faculty and clinical staff at Rose City Center in Pasadena. She frequently lectures at regional, state, and national conferences on high conflict divorce, infertility, and ethics and child development in an age of technology. She and Dr. Bhatia developed an app for smartphones called DivorceWorks to help people get through the divorce in a mindful manner with a focus on culture and your children. She is the past chair of the PAC for California Psychological Association and served several times as a board member for CPA. She's a past president of the LA County Psychological Association and Wright Institute Alumni Association, and also the past co-president of the San Gabriel Valley Psychological Association. Linda, that is quite the resume, and I have to say that the reason that I wanted to have you here, aside from your incredible education and experience and intel, is because you specialize in helping parents to essentially navigate the divorce process with your kids. So in other words, helping you to allow your kids to feel safe through this process. And that is something that is so important to me because I have seen situations where parents don't put their kids at the center, they put them in the middle, and it really causes not just trauma in the children, but also damages to your relationship with your own kids. So I would really love for you to share a little bit about why you wanted to be a part of this summit and why this is such a passion project of yours, that you have made it your career.
Well, in graduate school, I was trained in dealing with child trauma. So when I started my private practice, I had a lot of kids who were kidnapped, kids who witnessed murder, things like that, and treated those kind of kids. And then one day I had an attorney call me and said, "Hey, I hear you deal with child trauma. I have these two kids that have been completely decimated through the process of this divorce. Could you help them?" And I said, "Sure." And so I started getting more involved in the divorce world, joining professional organizations that are involved in helping families peacefully get through the divorce situation. And now I probably get a lot of my referrals either from family law judges or from attorneys to help, whether it's the kids, whether it's the families, whether it's co-parents, try to get through the process and still be happy on the other end.
Yeah, and I think that that's such a struggle, right? And
Yes.
you never know, as parents, you want the best for your kids, and you don't want to put them in the middle. So would you share with our audience today sort of what some of your thoughts are on how to tell your kids that you're getting divorced, and what kind of is the best language to use, and similarly, what not to use?
All right. It's and some of this depends on the dynamics of how it all goes down, as we know. If everybody's planning on something, but all of a sudden one parent finds out something about the other and there's a blow up at home and the kids hear it, it's not going to happen in the best way. But I think that what the message that the kids need to hear consistently is, Mom and Dad are divorcing each other. We're not allowed to divorce you. Right. You are our kids. You will always be our center. And we will do anything we can for you to try to make this process easier. You didn't ask for it. You didn't want it, but mom and dad are really going to try to work together. And I think if parents can really start the co-parenting and not the parallel parenting where they can't agree on anything, agree on a shared story about the divorce, you know, whatever that story is. Agree that you're going to tell the kids together, not that one parent's going to run and blurt it out to the children. Um, think about your kids. Don't tell them the week before finals. Like, don't tell them like on a Monday night when they're stressed about something. If there's a 3-day weekend coming up, if there's at least a whole weekend, tell them on that Friday so they have a chance to ask questions, grieve, cry, scream, be angry, and know that both of you are like, we're here and we'll take it. We can hear that, and that's fine. And if it doesn't go down that way, then you give the kids the message, I'm so sorry you heard about this through mom and dad yelling or screaming, but we are going to try to do better, and we're going to try to do whatever we can to help you through this process.
Yeah, and what I'm hearing you say, I think, which is also really hard for parents, is really acknowledging that as a parent, you also make mistakes during this process, right? None of us are perfect. And I think that that in and of itself is also an incredible lesson that our kids can learn from us, right?
We're parents and we all make mistakes every day. It's not just through the process of divorce. Nobody can ever be a perfect parent for your kid. Even if you feel like you're doing it perfect, your kid's going to go, what? Why are they doing that? That's not what I need. They're doing A, but I need B. So we all make mistakes. And I think if you tell kids, I'm sorry, I yelled. I'm sorry, I messed up. You know, I'm going to try better. And letting your kids know that you'll be there to listen to them, to understand it, to, you know, hey, let's go talk to John in your class because his family went through a divorce, to help them find resources. There's some really good resources for kids, whether they're books, whether they're websites that can help kids kind of figure it out, but also things that parents can read with them, and do with them online that can help them.
Yeah. And, you know, I'm curious to know too, in that respect. I mean, I put my kids in therapy, to also have an outlet for them, to have a neutral party for them to express their emotions to, if there was a circumstance where they didn't feel comfortable to talk about their dad and I. So what are some other ways that parents can encourage their kids to really open up, or providing them with a place or with people that they feel comfortable opening up to?
Well, some of that depends on what the family's social resources are. You know, what is their circle? You know, for some families, I tell them, put a jar on the kitchen table, and anybody can write whatever they want and put it in there. And it can be, I had a great week, or it could be like, Mom, I hate when you get mad and yell. Please don't curse, whatever. And we'll take one out, and everybody can take a turn reading it at the end of the week, at the end of the month. So that can be one way to kind of facilitate dialogue that maybe is hard for a kid to go right up to a parent and say it. You know, some parents are really hooked in with religious institutions where there may be people there that are there for kids. Some kids have great relationships with teachers or coaches. So it really all depends who's out there. If it's a neighbor, if it's a relative, it's just important, hopefully, that person isn't so one-sided in the divorce. Like if it's mom's best friend, is she going to say, you've got a great dad? Or is she going to go, it's really great that your mom's away from him? It's something for mom and her friend to talk about, but not necessarily for the kids to hear.
Yeah. And I think, I think using, that kind of a lens of, smarts, right? Or maybe even engaging your kids in who a safe person would be to talk to, again, another reason to engage your kids in dialogue around it is, who do you feel comfortable speaking to about X, Y, or Z? and just making sure that they're also using the best judgment in who they choose to engage with. But I love that jar idea. I actually think I'm going to even do that now. I love that. I never heard that before. So I think that's a really amazing way, because I'm a big believer in writing, right? Journaling and expressing myself. And I've done things where like I rip stuff up, or like I'll burn things with intention, safely, of course.
Yeah.
But I've never thought about the jar opportunity. I think that's beautiful. I'm curious to know, in your practice and with the work that you do, so many people struggle with how to co-parent, or even what co-parenting means. Would you mind sharing a little bit about sort of what that looks like? Like, what is the definition of co-parenting?
Sure. There's basically, when you talk about in the divorce world, there's co-parenting and there's parallel parenting,
Right.
that I referenced earlier. And co-parenting is really, what can we do? We are not together as a couple, but our relationship has transformed from that of being a romantic partnership to being a business partnership. And our business is raising happy, healthy kids. Number one, happy. And kids who want to have a relationship with us past the age of 18. So it's situations like, my big one is what I call the bag of shame. The kid that goes to school every 2 or 3 days and has a big duffel bag with them because they have to take stuff back and forth from moms to dads. And they're toting around this big duffel bag all day. Can it be that, hey, in the morning after I drop off the kids, I'm going to swing by and I'm going to pick up a bag off your porch or wherever, so the kids don't have to shuttle that stuff back and forth. It's both, co-parenting is both parents can come to the soccer game. They don't have to sit together and hold hands. They can sit separate. Both kids are going to be there at graduation. I remember a child who said, I don't even want to go to graduation. I said, why? You've worked so hard. This is amazing. You've got good grades. It doesn't matter, Linda. If I get off the stage and I go to my mom, my dad's going to be mad because I didn't go to him first. If I go to my dad first, my dad's going to be mad that I didn't go to her first. That your kid goes to mom and hugs mom and then goes to dad and hugs dad. Okay. Your kid wants to hug both of you. Isn't that amazing? And you say how great it is that my kid knows that both parents love this child and will do anything for this child. So parallel parenting is, we don't really talk much. Maybe we don't talk at all. Maybe we only text each other. Maybe we only text through a website like Our Family Wizard or Talking Parents. And we're only exchanging information minimally about the kid. It's the parent who takes the kid to the emergency room and doesn't let the other parent know. If your kid's in the ER, everybody should know and be able to be there.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it's interesting because, I've never thought about co-parenting as a business relationship. I've never heard it put in that way. And that resonates quite deeply with me. And I'm sure a lot of our viewers, because the way in which we engage business partners is not the way I'm sure a lot of us are engaging with our exes at any given point. And I think that that's a really great mindset shift to share with our audience today about that. And something else that came up for me while you were sharing that is, in situations where, for example, one parent, let's say, isn't necessarily listening to the kids, how can you, as the other parent, empower the child to really stand up for their beliefs or their feelings with their other parent? How can we better support our kids when they're having sort of a headbutt with the other parent?
So 2 things. I want to go back to the business relationship, because I think if you can frame everything, all your communication with your ex as Biff, keep all your communication brief, informative, friendly, and firm. Brief, informative, friendly, and firm. If you were going to say something you would not say to your boss, don't say it. If you were writing an email like, you jerk, how could you do that? Would you say that to your boss? No. Brief, informative, friendly, and firm. So I think that can take a lot of the emotion out of it, and let's focus on our child. So in terms of when a kid isn't being heard or listened to, that's complicated because there's a lot of factors that can go into it. As a psychologist, there's diagnoses that can go into that. Is the other person really incapable of hearing a child? And sometimes if it's a one-off, then you say, well, sometimes maybe I don't listen. Maybe you could write an email to dad. Maybe you could draw a picture for dad or mom, depending on the developmental level of the kid. Would you like me to try to talk to that person? Would you like to be on like a speaker call if that's something that can go back and forth? But if you're talking about someone who may have a psychiatric diagnosis that prohibits them from really being able to be there, then some of it is in a developmental way. And this might be a place where it might be good for a kid to get into therapy. I do not believe all children need to go into therapy because of a divorce.
Right.
At all. I believe if there's reasons why kids need it, and I would way rather kids be out playing on a playground than in my office. But if they need to be in my office, then we're doing it. We're working. But sometimes with kids, it's helping them understand that some parents are able to do some things, but they're not able to do other things. And one of the analogies I use a lot is I say you have a parent and they were born with a really short arm. Like their arm came to here and their hand was there. And that's how they were born, and that's how it is. Now you may go up to that parent and go, give me a big hug. And the parent just isn't able to do that. They can't do it. And so sometimes, the visual in kids, and sometimes if parents are in here with kids and a parent does something, I'll go to the kid like this. Just make a motion. I'll be like, okay, they're being a short arm parent right now. They can't do it. And that's different than won't. It's really different than won't. But sometimes parents, due to their own, personal histories, whatever, are unable to do things. And you let kids know developmentally appropriately about their other parent so they know what their expectations can and can't be.
Right. And I think that sort of ladders itself back up to ensuring that your kids will be all right in this process. But it starts with you.
Yes. I say all the time, love your kids more than you hate your ex. Really love your kids more than you hate your ex. And there's two camps about divorce. And one of them says kids will grow up and have issues with interpersonal relationships with partners. And the other research camp says kids are resilient. They're going to be okay. The one thing that both camps that are very differently, diametrically apart, agree on is that if kids don't see open, hostile conflict between their parents, they do much better. So before, during, and after, if you can minimize open, hostile conflict, and if that means that you don't go up to them at a soccer game because you're going to be like, a-hole, then you don't do it. But the kids continually being exposed to open, hostile conflict is a worse indicator for the kids in terms of outcome.
I couldn't agree more. And I think one of the situations that brings that on more so even when you have an amicable relationship that stirs a trigger pot is when the other person starts dating somebody or introduces someone into the kids' lives. Can you share a little bit about that as well? Because I also, with the work that I do and with clients that I work with, I know that, a lot of us struggle with when do you introduce? How do you introduce? Do you involve the other parent? Because many of us get blindsided, which to me is not fall under a strong co-parenting relationship. So can you talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. It depends on how the co-parent, if it's co-parenting or parallel parenting. Right. If it's really co-parenting and you have that kind of relationship, you can say, hey, listen, I'm dating someone it's been, first off, you don't introduce your kids to somebody you met last Friday. because you think they're great. You don't do it. You wait to introduce your kids to somebody until you think this could be something. This person's going to stick around, because you don't want your children to get attached to someone and then they leave. They already went through the divorce situation. You don't want to perpetuate leavings for children. So if they've been around for a while and you feel like this is something that is going to stick, you may, if you can, you talk to the other parents and you say, hey, listen, this is what I'd like to do. I want to introduce the kids. I want to give you a heads up. And then the first introduction, again, in a perfect world, is in public. It's short. It might be like, let's go have lunch.
Yeah.
Let's go have dinner. Let's go bowling. But it's not like, hey, we're going to go to Disneyland all day and all night with this person. And then it's like, okay, you make sure that you continue to have time with your children. Because a lot of times people are like, oh, okay, I've introduced my significant other, game on. Like, now they're here, they're part of the family, like they're here all the time. And the number of times kids say to me, even if somebody is married, remarried, I just wish I could do something alone with mom. I really miss just having alone time with mom, because stepdad or boyfriend always has to be there. So you make sure that there's a good balance, and that hopefully whoever you're dating really likes your kids. And the kids might not really like that person, and they might push back in all kind of ways. And then, if this is the long game, okay, so maybe they don't come around again for 2 months. If it's a long game for you and you have shared custody, you have some time to see that person. It's harder if you're a person that has sole custody, but then you might not see that person as much for a while, but you still might say, hey, mom's going out tonight. And parents are allowed to have some of their own independent time.
Yeah, and I think that plays into so much guilt that we have, right? Because we want our kids to be okay. We want them to feel safe, but what ends up happening is we do it at our own cost, right? And we're not taking care of ourselves, which I always say, it doesn't allow you to bring your best like mom self forward, because if you're not feeding the human that you are, you can't show up as being the best mom that you can be. And again, I think that comes back full circle into just being honest, right? And just being honest with what your needs are too. It's not just about your kids. Yes, we care and love them with all of our hearts, but we can't love them until we really honor, love, and respect ourselves as we're going through this process too. We can't leave ourselves behind.
Yes.
So, Linda, this has been, were you going to say something?
No.
Oh, okay. I thought I cut you off. But no, I was going to ask you, I think that this has been so informative and hits on so many, hits the nail on the head on so many issues that arise when it comes to kids and with divorce. And I'm so grateful for what you shared. I would love to open this up for you to share any other tips or advice with our viewers about that we haven't necessarily touched on yet that come to mind around how we can better support our kids through this divorce process, because it also doesn't just end when the divorce papers are signed by the judge, right? It's an ongoing forever situation.
Here's some quick tips. It's the celebrations, whether you celebrate Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Christmas, that you always take your kid out and get a present for the other person. Always. And it doesn't have to be that you're going to Tiffany's and busting the bank. And if you really don't have the resources, then you sit down together and really make a thoughtful card where you say something, you help your child express their feelings. That same on birthdays, that you always, always help your child get a present for their other parent. And same on Mother's Day and Father's Day. I had a child one time who came in and said, can I please draw something today? And I said, sure, what do you want to draw? I wanted a card for a parent because my mom won't take me to go get a birthday card for dad, and I'm going to his house and I don't have anything for him. To which I said, there's a CVS down the street. We're going to go get a present. And the kid said, I don't have any money. And I said, but I do. And we went and bought a present for the dad. And that was one of my best therapy sessions, I think, because that kid felt like they could say it and let me know how strong their dilemma was. And like, mom won't even let me get a card. So celebrations like that, think about your kid. You cannot like that person. You can hate that person, but think about your kid and think about, what do you want your child to grow up as? A child who knows about giving and showing up for somebody else. And that's important. You know, I don't know how much you want me to go on. I can go on for a long time about quick tips.
Why don't you share one more? Because I think that's a really valuable one. And I do honor that with my children and their dad, because it's also about what I would like in return, right? Like, I believe that I can't control my ex-husband, but I also need to live authentic to what feels right for me. And it feels right for me to let my children honor their dad any time of year that they want, right? Regardless.
Yeah.
And just because, and it doesn't have to involve money, like you said, paper, cards, like my kids draw all the time for their dad. Like, and then there have also been times where, yes, I have spent my own money to buy a present for my ex-husband for the kids, because that's what you do. So I love that lesson.
Exactly.
And then one
more. So another one that I think is really good is in the child's bedroom, or if a child doesn't have a bedroom, if a kid is sleeping in the living room or wherever, again, this does not have to be a giant picture gracing over your fireplace that you gaze upon. A picture of the kid and their other parent, or a picture of the family, if any of those exist. And the same at the other house. So again, it's a representation of, I know you have this relationship with mom or dad, and I'm so glad you do. I'm so glad you do. And so just make sure they have a picture in their room or where they sleep of the other parent. It's so helpful to kids. I had another kid who was 17 and had one picture of him and his mom and dad, and carried it with him wherever he went and slept with it under his pillow, because neither of his parents could see it, because both of them would rip the picture up. And so, and he's carrying, it's kind of tattered, and I'm like, let's go get this laminator, but he didn't want to touch it. But it was so important to him because he wasn't allowed by either parent to have a picture of him and his parents.
Wow. Yeah. And I think that, this was something, I will admit, like, I struggled with looking at pictures of the four of us for quite some time. Yeah. But at the end of the day, we will always be a family. And our family now looks different. There's new people in our family, right? But the four of us, like my two boys are a product of the love that my ex-husband and I had at one time. And it's okay that we're not in love anymore. And I want my kids to know and honor our memory of being a family. And now we still are. We're just growing. It's just getting, it's taking a different shape. And I think that is incredible, selfless advice to give to a lot of our viewers out there, because our kids shouldn't be punished for something that they don't have control over, and they get to still love their mom and dad.
And the more people, when you said that your family's expanding, the more people that love your kid, the better for your kid.
I agree wholeheartedly, and I think that is a beautiful way for us to bring our conversation to a close, even though I have a million other questions I could ask you, and you've provided such incredible information. The last thing I do want the opportunity, because I think that your app is something that's really important, I would love for you to just take a couple minutes or a minute or two to just share a little bit more. I know I teased it in the beginning, but share a little bit more about what it is, what the benefits are, how people can find it, because it's a great resource.
Okay, it's called DivorceWorks. It's on the App Store, on Apple and Google Play. A partner and I developed it. She is a psychologist, and we do a lot of presentations together. And so we spent 2 years working on this. It's interactive. There's a place where you can log your mood. There's a place where you can journal. There's places where you can check and see what your mood is in. We wrote about 50 articles on different aspects of divorce. We found out that people stay on any given web page for between 19 and 22 seconds. So all of our articles are between 5 and 750 words. We have self-help quizzes to remind you to do self-help, not just for you, but for your kid. So it's $4.99. It's a one-time fee, and Divorce Works.
Amazing. And thank you and to your business partner for creating such a valuable resource to the world out there. And I'm really glad that we're getting it out that this exists. So thank you. And Linda, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for the work that you're doing and for sharing your wisdom with our audience today. I'm so grateful.
Thank you for the work that you're doing, and thank you for inviting me.
Of course. And for all of our viewers out there, please continue to tune in and watch all of the videos from all of our experts. There is so much incredible and valuable information at your fingertips. I've made it short and tangible so that you can watch it wherever you want. The tips and the advice are coming from real people who have either been through their own divorces or who are working in the space and have been working in the space for quite some time. And just imagine if any single one of these interviews provides you with one nugget of information that you need to help navigate your divorce process or even your kids' divorce process that much more easily. Imagine what is possible if you were to just tune in. So thank you for watching today, and I'm so grateful for your time and your investment in you. I will see you in the next video.